What is up, YouTube? It is Mr. Rolldaddy here, and wow, we have made it a long way since I first started doing this in September. That's right, yet another Iowa football analyst video for this weekend's upcoming game against the hated rival Nebraska Cornhuskers. So, this is always a very intense rival game, one of the best rivalries out there in college football. So, let's get going. I do have some ways how I think Iowa can win. So, again, as always, all views which I express in this video are completely my own. They don't represent those of the Iowa Hawkeyes, Big Ten Conference, or anybody or anything else otherwise affiliated. Let's get going. Wow. We've made it this far, the final week of the regular season, and at least one, if not two more games after this for the Hawkeyes. The HyVee Heroes Trophy game, Iowa versus Nebraska, let's go. So, the basic roll key for this week. Iowa's not yet playing in the Big Ten Championship game. Yes, Nebraska's not doing too well, but it's not even a guaranteed or sure thing yet. Iowa's got to beat Nebraska first, so the opponent this weekend is the Nebraska Cornhuskers, not the Ohio State Buckeyes or Michigan Wolverines. So, just focus on this game against Nebraska and nothing else. All business should take care of itself. Now, here's my first offensive roll key of the week. Break off the big runs early and break them off often. Earlier this year, Georgia Southern pulled off a massive upset against Nebraska, the game that ultimately cost Scott Frost his job. One thing Georgia Southern did well is they broke the tackles in the open. They rushed for over 230 yards and 5 touchdowns, and they were just relentless out there in the running game that day. So, I'm going to say Caleb Johnson and all the other running backs, they must, and I mean they must, be doing that this weekend. There we go. Second offensive roll key of the week. Don't allow Luke Reimer to make any big plays. This is the type of kid that a program loves to have. Not only is he from the city where the college is, but he's also a homegrown walk-on player that's just worked his way up to the starting lineup. But he's a very proficient tackler on the open. He's had some pretty big statistics when you look at his numbers, and when you're a middle linebacker, the numbers don't lie when it comes to tackles and whatnot. So he's really that heart and soul of the Cornhuskers defense. Block him well. Don't allow him to make any big plays this weekend because that kid can play. Now, here's my third offensive roll key. Have the 6-man protections ready to go. Nebraska is also an efficient enough pass rushing team. They got a couple guys who have put up some good sack numbers and know how to chase down the quarterback. So, I'm going to suggest for Iowa, just have a 6th-man ready in pass blocking, whether that's a tight end, a running back, or an extra offensive lineman. And that 6th-man has got to be ready and set to make some quick pass blocking sets to contain Nebraska's pass rush, because if Spencer Petras makes some hurried throws this weekend, it is not going to lead to good results. He's got to have time to throw the football. It is that simple. Now, here is my fourth offensive roll key of the week. Design multiple blocking schemes. This is especially true in the running games. Block man, block zone, do some gap reads, and do some pulling blocks. All have got to be used. And they also do have another great on the open tackler, Nick Heinrich. So you don't underestimate these linebackers. Have a plan to block them, and then block them well. Because these guys need to be handled. And Iowa's got to take them very seriously this weekend. Getting those yards is going to be so important. And it all starts with blocking proficiently all over the field. Now, here's my fifth offensive roll key. This is something I don't think I've done yet this year, but I think this is a good weekend to run some empty backfield sets. Because, look, there's only so much a defense with an effective front seven. There's only so much what they can do. What I think Iowa's got to do, force them to play more skilled players in offense. Now, obviously, not every down. It should be used occasionally, but I'm really thinking this is a great way for Nebraska to be caught off guard. Because here's how I see it. I mean, I play a lot of football video games, and I've played a lot of versions of Madden and a couple versions of NCAA football over the years. There's a lot of possibilities for an offense when they use an empty backfield formation. You can throw quick, you can throw deep, quarterback can roll out, quarterback can do a bootleg, but another play, this is an underrated trick play in my mind, is to do a quarterback draw from an empty backfield set. So just have Petrus just line up with no running backs and have him take it himself. That'll be something unique the defense is not used to seeing that I don't think Iowa's tried much, if any at all. That really Iowa could end up getting a pretty good yards out of. Now, on to the defensive side. My first defensive role key of the game. Show Nebraska what they don't have. Because, look, Iowa's got a world-class defense. It's one of the best in the country. And they make the big plays. They get the turnovers. They sack the quarterbacks. They tackle efficiently. And guess what? They also score on defense. So, I'm going to say if Iowa does all those things, Nebraska's going to get jealous of what the state next to them has. And they're going to see what they don't have that we have. Make that a huge point this weekend. Now, my second defensive role key. Pass rush has to be ferocious. So, this is a good weekend to really use the extra guys to rush the passer. And again, I'm pretty big on the word forcing on defense. So, Iowa's really got to force Nebraska to be hurried on their throws. I like this kind of like Super Bowl 42 when the Giants used a pass rush game plan to really distract Tom Brady and the Patriots and stop their passing attack and pretty much their entire offense. Yep, I think this is going to be the best defensive strategy for Iowa football this week. As the quarterback, he's got to be held guessing. But if you attack the quarterback by him not seeing any extra defenders, that's a whole new level, and this is a good team to use that against. Jack Campbell, he is an amazing middle linebacker. Get him to do some pass rushing moves this weekend. Call some spinner blitzes and, use multiple blitzes this weekend and maybe on half of defensive snaps. You can't allow Nebraska to get time to throw the football. Now, I know it's been a theme all year. Force, that word for defense. So, force the simple mistakes this game. Here's how I think Iowa can force all those simple mistakes. Line defenders differently. Anybody and everybody. Disguising coverages, which, again, is another thing I think can really end up fooling Nebraska. And here's something I'm going to say, because we're so late into the season that I think this is a good strategy that Iowa can really use. Look deep into the defensive playbook and try to see if you can get them to freak out by showing something they are not used to seeing on film or they haven't seen on film at all. Because by doing that, from my days in high school football, I know that if an offense freaks out when they see a defense line up in a formation they've never seen, that can cause a lot of turnovers and if not turnovers, definitely some more problems for the offense if they don't react to it correctly. So maybe that is going to be just enough to fool Nebraska and more so just get Nebraska to really freak the heck out and start asking what the heck happened, and that might end up becoming a pretty good deal in the end, and it might lead to those defensive points if it's executed correctly. Now, here is the fourth defensive role key of the week. Blanket cover the wide receivers. I mean, arguably their best offensive weapons this year in a down year are wide receivers Trey Palmer and Omar Manning. Don't let them break free at all. Because if they break free, could be some big problems. The man coverage against those guys can go a long ways, and they can make their moves. Huge victory for the defense. Just don't let them make those moves. Cover them like a blanket. Now, here's my fifth defensive role key. I'm going to explain why I'm saying this in a little bit. But, again, this is something my coaches would say every game that defense sets the tone. But in a big-time rivalry game like this, yes, defense needs to set the tone early and often. And I mean they need to. They got to go in and they got to be telling Nebraska, oh, you're not going to be getting away with this game. You're not going to win it easily. And we're not going to be lying down. We're not napping on this game. We're still playing you. We want our trophy. And guess what? It's Thanksgiving weekend. So the Hawkeyes could say that they want to be the ones who start off the holiday season in a happy way, in the right way for the team and fans alike. It's a special time of the year, and Iowa can really end up getting away with starting the holiday season on the right foot if they can just claim the trophy over Thanksgiving. Because guess what? Yes, I know Nebraska's got nothing to play for, but Nebraska is going to fight all game long. Believe me on this one. So, yes, many of the last Iowa versus Nebraska games, I mean, some of those Nebraska had nothing to play for, or their record was significantly worse than Iowa, even if they were trying to get into or had a bowl game set up. But guess what? Nebraska fights really hard against Iowa in this game. I mean, 2015, Nebraska kept it close to try to ruin Iowa's undefeated season, though Iowa pulled away anyways. And 2018 game, that's a game that I was at in Iowa City that I still have never forgotten about, and still one of the most classic Hawkeye games I've been to. Iowa was up 28-13 in the fourth quarter, but Nebraska erased that 15-point deficit to tie the game up, and a year later, Nebraska got down 24-10 in Lincoln and tied the game in the second half. But both of those years, 2018 and 2019, Iowa still won on a last-second field goal anyways. It was that big of a fight, and obviously last year's game, yes, Nebraska started out pretty hot, but Iowa came back to win anyways. It was Nebraska that blew a pretty, I don't remember how much, but a pretty big lead last year. And so Nebraska's going to fight really hard to win this game. It's going to be a dogfight all the way into the end. And yeah, Nebraska's season is done after this game, but those guys are going to fight hard. So Iowa needs to remember their previous games and not sleep on these guys at all. It's that simple. Now, we have made it to this point in the video. Rolldaddy's big roll of the week. It's pretty self-explanatory. It is a surprise tactic, trick play, or an interesting strategy that I would utilize this week if I was an Iowa coach that could catch the opponent off guard and give an advantage to the Hawkeyes. And again, I have to use a new one every week. I cannot use the same one twice in a year. And here we go. This is a very interesting one. And it's one I don't think any of you will have seen coming. But I'm thinking, go for it this week. Really go for it. Line up Sam Laporta in multiple spots. I mean, I really mean multiple here. Yes, he's Iowa's star tight end, best receiver on the team, but yes, obviously play him at tight end, but tight ends are a blocking position, so put him in left tackle and right tackle on some snaps. But tight ends are also receivers, and they're eligible receivers, which is why they're called a tight end, not an offensive lineman. So play him at outside receiver, play him at slot wide receiver, and be bold here. Line the kid up at running back and fullback this week. And even try a few snaps at quarterback for him. Iowa develops tight ends so well, and really, all I'm saying is Nebraska, shove it down Nebraska's throats and show who tight end university actually is. Show that our tight ends aren't just tight ends, but they can do so much. So, yes, it's my idea here to line Sam Laporta up at 7 or 8 different spots on the offense, but it might pay off big time if it really works. Thank you very much for watching this episode. I've had a great time doing this season, and I appreciate those who are regular watchers of this show of mine. Again, if Iowa wins, it's another trip to Indianapolis for the second straight year in the Big Ten Championship game. Iowa cannot get ahead of themselves, because if they do, it's going to be bad, and if Iowa just needs to focus on this week in this game only. It's the Big Ten Championship game, again, is not here yet. That is next week, if it even happens. But, anyways, peace out. Go Hawks. Let's get another one against a hated rival.